Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show how to manage and how to configure the AWS in your terminal. In another video, I already showed how I did the download and installation of the AWS in a command prompt in Windows 10. And now I'm going to start how to do the initialization and the configuration of AWS and to start running some basic commands in AWS. First, we have to make sure that the AWS is installed. So as you can see, when I run AWS version, it gives me information about the package, which is a confirmation that the AWS is already configured in my account. To do the initialization and the configuration is required to log in your account and to follow some more steps for finishing the configuration. First, we have to go to AM. Before we start doing the configuration of the AWS, the most basic steps are connected with the user. So when you log in for the first time and you have created your AWS account, you log in as a root user. Usually the AWS doesn't recommend people to use the account through the root users, but they recommend to create different users and to manage according to their access. Previously, I have made some kind of different try before I make the video, and I have created one user that has administrative access, and I was able to run different commands and to manage my account through the terminal. I'm going to create another user, and to show how to do this, how to create a user, I'm going to write again my name, and I'm going to say Arsilda2. And since this is optional, I'm not going to click it. And also is to create a group. Here, if you don't have a group already created with the policies that you want, here is the group. You can write the name of the group, for example, test, and you can choose what kind of permissions you're going to allow the users that they are in that group. For the user that is required to configure in your command prompt is required to be an administrator access. So you can click the option of the administrator access. Since I have already created the group previously, I just click and I attach to my user and I go next. Now I have some information about my user name, and also I have in the group that is connected or is part that my user is part, and I create the users. As you can see, now the user is creating. It's gonna take some time for my user to be ready, and I go and I click and I have some information about my my user and some date and some certain information that is basic for the user that I already go. I go to the security credentials, and as you can see, there are a few information that you can run in your user. Different depends on what kind of user, for what purpose you are using. You can use in a different you can enable the console access, or you can allow this user to access, and you need this copy paste of this link. So every time that you log in, instead of logging in your account through the root user, you go through this new user that you're creating. I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna use this access case. So this is for programmatic calls or AWS CLI or PowerShell or AWS key. So this key is important to generate, so it allows you to connect your terminal with your account. So I go to create, I choose command line since I already, and I click I understand and I go next. Let's see if it takes what happened here. Let's try again. AWS, I click I understand, go next, and for command line and create As you can see, automatically is created the key, the access key that's going to allow me to configure the AWS in my account. I go in my terminal and I start doing the configure, AWS configure. In the moment that I click AWS configure, it's going to ask me for some information. So first it's going to ask for the ID. And here we are, we copy the ID of my access key and I run it. Then it's going to ask for the secret ID. So here is the secret ID. I copy and I run it. And then it's going to ask me for the hide region. We live in Oregon. You go here and every region has its own code. And for West Oregon, I'm going to use this code here. And I go here, run it, and here you are. And for this output format, I leave it default. And AWS is already configured. And the terminal is connected with this through this account. And I will make sure to run a few commands and to see if I can manage my account. I go back to my account, to my service, and I go back to AC2, and I have one instance that I have created and is in status stopped. So I will see if I can run different commands and I can generate different information from my account through my command prompt. First, I have written some comments in my notepad, and let's try to run and to see what kind of users I have in my account. As you can see, is AWS, IAM is the service, and list of users. When you run it, it's going to take some time. You're going to see that I have two users that I have already created. Is Arcilda, and Arcilda 2 is the last user that I created recently. The other one is, I'm going to run this comment about my instance. This actually gives a description of the instances that is in my account. So let's try this again. We copy and we run it. And as you can see, here it gives a description of my instance. This is the instance ID, is this code here, which is basically this code here. So I'm able to understand what instance we are talking about. It is the availability zone, which is the same, and also is the code instance state, and is in a stop state. So these are basic some information about my instance that is running. So since I have only one instance, it's giving the information only for that instance. Let's try if I can start my instance through the command prompt. I copy paste this command and I run it. Before I have to tell that these commands you got through the terminal here. There are so many commands that it shows how to manage, how to control your different services through your account. And AWS provides so many tutorials that gives plenty of information about how to write and how to manage or how to do different kind of operation in your account. So let's go back and let's try. Since my Windows instance is in stop status, I'm gonna try to start it. So I copy, and here is AWS AC2 start status is the service that I'm gonna run, and the service ID is this one. So as you can see, here is this code and is exactly the same of the ID. And I'm gonna try to run it. So now is the name is in pending, the current status is in pending. If we refresh the status, you're gonna see that is in pending. So it's gonna take some time for the status to of my instance to change from stop to changed into running, and actually gives even the information that the current status is pending. Meanwhile, before was stopped. I do some more here. And as you can see, the status of my instance is changed. And if we go in the previous command that describes the status of the instance and I run it, we're going to see that it's going to give information of the instance that is running, but still is in the process of the initialization. So now I go back, and since it is running, I can run the other command to stop the instance. So let's try to change the status of my instance. Let's copy and run it. So now and is stopping, so it's in the process to stop. And as you can see, it gives you the information that previous status of my instance was running and now is in stopping process. So these are some very basic commands that I was trying to show how to manage your account through the command prompt, and how to do the configuration and to do the initialization of AWS in your command prompt in Windows 10. I hope it was very helpful for you. And of course, I recommend to read more tutorials in AWS about running different commands and to get more familiar about the way how you can manage your account through the terminal. And this can give you a deep knowledge and can grow more knowledge about how the commands in AWS are built and how you can manage your account. Thank you, and I'm going to share even in the description below of this video the tutorial that AWS has shared that helps you to understand the AWS command and to manage through the terminal.